and so is music.
Ladies!
If not play, make you stop, Baba, I know they say. I want me to do it. Only more Jeff for Choco.
And all the movies you can watch basically.
Hi!
Walks through walls and stuff.
So watch us. Follow us.
Connect with us. Television Nigerian.
Hang with the gang.
Part of the fan.
On Flex Arena. It's entertainment. Lips.
Lip.
Happening in the world of entertainment. From trending hot topics to even hotter music videos, the best events, and the most interesting guests, of course.
It just pushed me.
So find all of that juiciness and more on Posh Spice, the show that brings you all of the most entertaining content from the entertaining world of entertainment.
That's lit, man!
So watch me bring sizzling hot content to you on Television Nigerian. You can watch us on our nice concert platforms, and if you are not a fan of television, watch us on our social media platforms and our web TV, of course.
Don't miss it. Seriously, don't miss it. My job literally depends on it.
Cut a slice of the north central Nigeria with its raw mix of cultures, treasures, and amazing people. Based in the vibrant glory of the beauty of nature with striking landscapes. And that's the best from agriculture, commerce, and entrepreneurship.
trending hot topics to even hotter music videos, the best events, and the most interesting guests, of course.
It just pushed me.
So find all of that juiciness and more on Posh Spice, the show that brings you all of the most entertaining content from the entertaining world of entertainment.
That's lit, man.
So watch me bring sizzling hot content to you on Television Nigerian. You can watch us on our Night concert platforms, and if you are not a fan of television, watch us on our social media platforms and our web TV, of course.
Don't miss it. Seriously, don't miss it. My job literally depends on it.
Cut a slice of the north central Nigeria with its raw mix of cultures, treasures, and amazing people. Bask in the vibrant glory of the beauty of nature with striking landscapes. And that's the best from agriculture, commerce and entrepreneurship. Put in a mix of local politics and governance from a resourceful people with amazing lifestyles, and you are right in the center of the northern Nigeria. North Central Journal, a compendium of people, places, news and views, all in an amazing mix that bears it all. Only on Television Nigerian.
This is Television Nigerian, a broadcast network committed to serving.
It's a beautiful morning in the nation's capital, and we welcome you to Daybreak Africa, reaching you live from Television Nigeria, Guzape Hills, Abuja. Like we always do and say, the television with the trending news on politics, entertainment, sports, and lots of exciting programs. Happy New Week. I am Lucy Ora.
And I am Sapphire. A blessed Monday to all of us at home.
It's really a beautiful day. Today it drizzled a bit in the nation's capital, but we're hoping that the rain doesn't...
Well, I'm hoping the rain comes, but probably not too much.
At least for the farmers.
At least for, the farmers.
Maybe it's actually showers of blessings for us this morning and this week.
Indeed. News reaching us says Ramaphosa sent an envoy to Nigeria.
For me, it's a very beautiful and welcome thing. I felt he would have done that way before now. He actually sent to about 6 countries. So for me, I felt he should have...
I completely agree with you on that note, because, waiting for us to now withdraw our citizens from your country, that was a whole huge fund. And then kudos to the owner of, what do they call this? Airpiece, of course. Kudos to him. He really did quite well. It's commendable, and of course, a major step to take as a leading step to take, I should say, for other many Nigerians. But why should Ramaphosa wait for withdrawals from the? Because it's a huge step already. A lot of people would not want to go back, and I don't know, but I feel like the relationship cannot be like it was before.
I think maybe not. I feel that if any time you take a step, the fact that you took that step and you took corrections, I think maybe South Africa has gotten to wake up, a wake-up call to do what is right. And I feel either way, yes, it might be coming late, but actually they did something.
But I'm actually seeing it from the perspective of a child playing with an elderly person, and then you are trying to see finish, permit me to use that word on the internet, see finish. And then, of course, if the elder is coming back to play with that child, even after apology, disrespect, and all of that, you see there'll be some kind of limitation from the whole thing. And of course, Nigeria as the big brother, we just hope that everything goes on very, very well after this envoy that has been sent to to Nigeria and of course other African countries.
And then yesterday and today, or today and tomorrow, is the World Democracy Day. And Nigeria has been a democratic country since 1999, I beg your pardon. Earlier, in this show, we'll be bringing a guest who will be talking about more on this democracy. Are we doing well? What is democracy all about? And, of course, we'll be taking you to healthy living and lots of exciting programs on Daybreak Africa this morning. But before then, let's quickly run to the AM News where Priscilla is on standby to give us the headlines. Stay with us.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on the AM News. I am Priscilla Eworm. Former Minister of Women Affairs Aisha Al-Hassan, who suffered defeat in the 2019 governorship election in Taraba State, has completed arrangement to return to the People's Democratic Party. Aisha Al-Hassan, popularly known as Mama Taraba, joined the UDP on the eve of the polls after she failed to secure the All Progressives Congress ticket, a party she contested under in 2015 and was able to secure 275,966 votes to come second in the governorship polls. Speaking over the weekend, shortly after a UDP stakeholders meeting in Jalingo, Al-Hassan stated that majority of her supporters in the 168 wards of Taraba and more than 80% of respondents in an opinion poll conducted by the committee headed by Alhaji Abdul Mini Vaki, a former PDP chairman in the state, had encouraged her to shift base to the PDP. Crisis is reportedly brewing in the camp of the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate in Kogi State following an impending mass defection from the opposition party. The dust raised by the primary election that produced engineer Musa Wada is yet to settle as more PDP chieftains in the state have expressed their willingness to either defect to the opposition APC or stay within PDP and work against the party. Feelers from the party in Kogi State indicates that the controversy that trailed the primary election may have ruined the chances of the party to return to power soon, as many insiders believe that the party's choice of flag bearers may have turned the November 16th election to a no contest for the incumbent Governor Yahaya Bello. And the Nigerian Police Command in Lagos has arrested a 29-year-old man identified as Emeka Emmanuel, alleged to have impersonated the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Emmanuel was arrested on Saturday at Iyano Iba in Ojo for allegedly defrauding innocent people under the guise of providing jobs for them at the EFCC, while police said the suspect was found with a fake EFCC identity card in his possession, which he allegedly used to deceive his victims. His arrest followed complaint by one Olakwasi Semiu at the Ojo police station that the suspect collected 51,000 naira from him over a month ago with a promise to secure his son's employment at the Anti-Graft Commission. Police spokesperson Bala Elkanah said Emmanuel confessed to the crime, adding that detectives also discovered he was running an illegal medical facility at his premises while investigations are still ongoing. Another set of 320 Nigerians trapped in xenophobic attacks in South Africa will arrive at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos on Tuesday, September 17th, as an aircraft belonging to Air Peace and its crew will depart Lagos for Oliver Tambo International Airport in South Africa. This will be the second batch of Nigerians to be evacuated after 187 Nigerians arrived in Lagos last week, as chairman of the Air Peace, Alan Onyema, has confirmed that the airline was working with the Nigerian High Commissioner in South Africa, who confirmed the ongoing profiling of Nigerians billed to return home. Onyema said the airline is fully mobilized for the operation, saying efforts are on to deploy a bigger aircraft with capacity for 367 passengers to bring home Nigerians who are willing, while the High Commission has prepared over 350 Nigerians for the flight, hoping that the SAR experience of flying an aircraft half full, as it experienced last week, is not favorable to the airline. On a sad note, the wife of Tunisia's late president, Beji Kad Ebsisi, died on Sunday as Tunisians were voting to elect his successor less than 2 months after his death. The former president's son, in the announcement made on his Facebook page, indicated that the late SFC widow Chadlia Farhat died at the age of 83, while no further details have been given as to the cause of her death. The late matriarch in July welcomed her many heads of state who had come to pay their respects to her husband, who died at the age of 92 after having been the first democratically elected president by universal suffrage in Tunisia. The couple had 2 daughters and 2 sons, including Hafed Kad Ebsi, who retained control of the party created by his father, Nida Tunes, at the cost of struggles by people who decimated the formation. And that's all in the news. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned for the Daybreak show.
topics to even hotter music videos, the best events, and the most interesting guests, of course.
It just pushed me.
So find all of that juiciness and more on Posh Spice, the show that brings you all of the most entertaining content from the entertaining world of entertainment.
That's lit, man.
So watch me bring sizzling hot content to you on Television Nigerian. You can watch us on our Nice concert platforms, and if you are not a fan of television, watch us on our social media platforms and our web TV, of course.
Don't miss it. Seriously, don't miss it. My job literally depends on it.
Cut a slice of the north central Nigeria with its raw mix of cultures, treasures, and amazing people. Bask in the vibrant glory of the beauty of nature with striking landscapes. And that's the best from agriculture, commerce and entrepreneurship. Put in a mix of local politics and governance from a resourceful people with amazing lifestyles, and you are right in the center of the northern Nigeria. North Central Journal, a compendium of people, places, news and views, all in an amazing mix that bears it all. Only on Television Nigerian.
Earlier this morning, I told you guys that we'll be having a guest in the show this morning. We celebrated World Democracy Day yesterday, and of course we're celebrating it today, I'm sure. And we have a renowned Comrade Benjamin Dennis, the Executive Director of Public-Private Initiative on Youth and Community Development. And he's here to give us a bit of shade on democracy and what we expect democracy to actually be. Welcome to the show, Comrade.
Thank you for
Good to
having
have you,
me.
Comrade.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Comrade, over the years, during the military regime, everybody was fighting for democracy. Come back democracy, come back democracy. Everybody wanted democracy. And in 1999, Nigeria went into being a democratic country. And so far, we've celebrated, I think, about 20 years so far as a democratic country. Do you think we are actually in a democratic country?
Wow, what a question. I strongly believe that since 1999 that we got independent, let me rather say the independence of having our civil expressions from the military era that gave us the civil manner to operate what is obtainable in the modern global society, which we borrowed from, called democracy, which I believe on the 15th of September by the United Nations General Assembly is made to understand that it should be observed. It's a day to review the state of democracy globally. Mm-hmm. And as you know, it's also a day that we should look at educating and raising public awareness as regards democracy. But coming back to your question, since 1999 to date, have we actually been in democracy? I would say we've been in democracy and we've not also been in democracy. Because democracy has actually come to stay, whether you like it or not, globally. What I would rather look at is Nigeria following up what democracy actually gives globally. I would think we're gradually we're struggling to get there. And since 1999, we expect democracy in all ramifications to be the will of the people being recognized, the respect for human rights being recognized, whereby the people, apart from the electionary process, whereby people decide their leaders, it should go beyond that and actually see people bridging one of the major problems we have in Africa, using Nigeria as a missing link, where the public participation in governance has actually been a major problem, where the respect for human rights and the will of the people has actually also been a major problem. And these are the basic elements of democracy. Where those things are lacking, it becomes a problem. Where institutions are stronger than the people, whereby the political parties are stronger than the people that brought them into power. Yeah. These are basic problems, but I believe democrats have come to stay. We're just struggling to get there, and I believe Nigeria will get there.
So talking about creating awareness, I would deviate you a little. Who exactly would you say a Democrat is?
A Democrat is one who actually believes in the ideals of respecting the will of the people. Because a Democrat is one who believes that the will of the people counts. Because the peoples are the majority and the leaders are the few. And looking at over 200 million Nigerians and few leaders, it will amaze you to understand that there's a misconception there. When people believe that leaders are only those who are in government office, it's not Democrats. Yeah. Democrat is when the will of the people who put you there matters. You got to see this play a major role when you come to the electionary process. You see most of those people who believe they are gods, political gods, go down to rural areas to seek for political votes, using one or two things to like entice the people to vote for them. That is when you understand the ethics of democracy and where the power lies. If the power lies in the hands of the politicians, there wouldn't be campaigns. But there's a misconception somewhere. I believe Nigerians, the people that make up the nations, have a major political responsibility to play. Beyond just the awareness of the 15 global awareness, the United Nations General Assembly came up in 2007, that they believe that September 15 should be a World Democracy Day, and was first practiced in the 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And in 1999 till date, over 20 years, you find out that even those days that most of the African countries were still depending on big brother Nigeria. Like South Africa, look at xenophobia today. Look at you, imagine South Africa dealing with Nigeria. If we know what we are doing and we believe in democratic practice, we will not be getting what we are getting today. It's a payback time. If we fail to do what we're supposed to do, when political leaders loot funds and go to other African countries to go and develop other African countries, and today you find out people like Niger, the Indians that used to come in the 80s to seek for whatever in Nigeria, today are the one giving us aid. Are we actually practicing democracy? And if you go further, you understand that the basics is the people. The people is the fundamental reason of democracy. Democracy will never strive without the people. Democracy gives the people the ability to put their leaders in power. And after putting them in power, what do we do in Nigeria? Complain and lamenting. Political parties taking the center stage instead of the people. Democracy doesn't have color, it doesn't have tribe, it doesn't have ethnicity. Democracy is patriotism, it is sacrifice, it is commitment, it's respect for the rule of law. And until the people wake up, we will see come back next year to talk about 15 September. And we'll still be discussing the issue we're discussing today.
Okay, sir. Thank you on that. Considering you're someone who is a director on an initiative that deals about the youth and the community, do you think the youth in Nigeria has been given that opportunity in this democratic government to actually come forward and perform their duties as the future of the nation?
I believe in one thing, I believe in one philosophy. The youth should create opportunity for themselves. You know, we don't look at giving opportunities. In the kind of setting of Africa where you talk about sit-tight leadership, you talk about leaders who doesn't want to leave power, you talk about leaders even when you don't vote them in, they are there. So what are you talking about? So you talk about these leaders you are talking about today. Those days, you find out that when they were youth age, they benefited all that this country provided for them. Now, we are in the same youth age. Are we demanding for it, or we take it by constructive thinking, or we come out to take it? They won't give you the power. They won't give you the chance to go there. It is the youth that will take what belongs to them. We believe that the youth is the energetic class of the nation, and the nation should be built on the young people. These elders will not quit until we quit them. And it is our civil right, as democracy provides, for the people to start to hold their leaders accountable. Beyond the 15th September, there should be continuous sensitization of public awareness, just like what the public-private initiative is doing. We came up with what we call Awake Nigeria Awareness Campaign in 2015 election, both in FCT and in Nasarawa State. That massively increased the number of youth participation in the last election. We did not just stop there, because it is a continuous process and strategic approach. We went ahead to establish what we call the community stakeholders town hall meeting. We don't, because there's no longer, we no longer have the existence of constituency service, the constituency centers. Constituency places are a medium for the people to meet with their leaders. It no longer function. We now created a community stakeholder town hall interactive meeting, whereby the community people can be able to participate in governance and call their leaders accountable. We went ahead to come up with scorecard, which we call the People's Performance Assessment Card on Good Governance and the Fight Against Corruption.
That's very good.
It is good for us, and recently, on Thursday next week, week 26, we came up with the missing link that has been missing in Nigeria. We call it the Community People's Office. Take it or forget about it. We have a public sector, we have a private sector, but we don't have the people's sector.
Yeah.
The people's sector, until we realize the people's sector, we cannot move democracy to the next level. The people must matter, not only when the leaders want us to matter. We need to make them to matter for us. And without all those things in Nigeria, we'll continue talking on programs, we'll continue engaging in events and programs, but there will not be any major impacts as sustaining democracy. Are we not looking at dividends of democracy? We are talking about democracy. What are the dividends that is being expected from that? It's also a major problem. I think we should be discussing in this meeting.
Wow.
Okay, I'm still on this youth issue. You talked about youths standing up for what is theirs and then thinking right and then creating a power around themselves. So we would say that definitely the youths in the past years have probably, or recently, the youths that have been given opportunity to serve are probably not really, because according to reports, have probably not really put in too much to the sector. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, if I have to rephrase. Good. So, as regards to that, our old leaders, per se, have come out to say that the youth are not ready to take power from them. I don't know. I don't actually believe in that. My own philosophy is this. When you're talking about the center, the Federal Capital Territory, where the presidency lies, you also have other departments like the state governors, the state assembly, legislators, and you also have the local government chairman and the councillors. There's a misconception somewhere. So when you talk about unnecessary rural migration to the center, and when the center is being congested and a lot of information comes fusing from the center. I'm sorry, can you help us with what unnecessary rural
Yes, because I believe, why I said so, the community base is the one that gave formation to the local government formation, and the local government gave formation to the states, then the state to the federal. There are some responsibilities that are lying fallow. There are technical things we should also fish out. Because I believe that the majority of Nigerians reside in the community base, not FCT. It's just that the 36th state of the Federation, everybody wants to come to the FCT to strive. That doesn't mean we don't have local government. That doesn't mean we don't have councillors who are the closest legislators of the community people. That doesn't mean we don't have state assembly legislators who are making law for the states. That doesn't mean we don't have a governor who is also supposed to be the chief executive director, security man of the states. The presidency is on its own, Then, but the major focus we normally have is the issue that filter from the presidency, which I believe is a misconception. And the majority of people dwells in the rural community. Whatever that comes from the federal pollutes all the states. It becomes a problem. We cannot use that same approach to deal with the approach that is happening in different pockets of the community. There are people that we have given our votes that are supposed to represent our interests in the rural areas. And the rural areas form the larger chunk of Nigerians. The federal allocation go to the state now decide to, maybe they join local government and say that can, which is a problem, I don't want to go about that. Then how is the people in the community, hard-working Nigerians, young people, go to the community, see graduates selling pure water, selling whatever, you say they are not active? The problem I'm having with Nigerians is that we should take some political steps as citizenry. We should start to hold our leaders accountable. We should also key into government programs. We should look at what democracy implies is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when the people are not involved, the leaders will rule us the way they like. It's a misconception. The people are the landlord. You now give out your property to a tenant who in other ways supposed to serve you by the mandate given to them. But they take decisions without consulting the landlord. What we do in Nigeria is complaining and lamenting. Go to newspaper stand, you amaze you what young people are doing. Civil society organizations, NGOs, medias should take their awareness of democracy down to the rural community. Apart from awareness, should come up with initiative that will enable people sustain democracy. Just as I'm trying to explain to you, that there is a missing link in Nigeria. The gap that has to do with public participation in governance is a major problem. You can't get that until you start to deal with the issue of putting the missing link, which is the people sector. We have the public sector. We have the private sector. What is the people sector there? And democracy is talking about the people sector. If we got it right, the issue of seat-tight syndrome in leadership in Africa will not be there. Because when you are talking, people are not telling you this is what we want. It's not issue of coming out on political sentiment or whatever. It must have to do with patriotism, sacrifice of commitment to make sure that our rural community, that is the foundation. Everybody's coming to FCT. Without the community that gave, everybody is from the community.
That's true.
If you want to go with it directly, where do you come from? Even when they have used tribe and whatever to divide us and religions, they will still tell you you're from so place in the community. It is after your community that you will now know that it's the community that gave the formation of the talking about states. It must come from community before talking about federal. So why are we talking about the issue up there when there's a decay in the foundation? So I believe that public participation in governance is key to sustain democratic dividends. And except the people comes in and understand that National Assembly is not the legislator, that's our problem. The councillor is our problem. The state assembly is our problem. How much does the governor collect every time? How has he been able to manage the affairs? And the community has to come up with what we call the community stakeholder town hall meeting. Why we call you to come in? The people has power. The problem is that they have not been able to exercise the power. That's why the leaders, they gave little part of the power through their voters card is dominating the power. There's a misconception. You are not just the person that's supposed to make the power. You are to serve. But in other way around, you are the one leading. Then we are now becoming servants. And we are talking about engaging programs. Even the United Nations General Assembly has not been able to come up with sustainable structures in Africa that will enable the people key in. The government themselves, are they supporting advocacy, public awareness? How can people hold their leaders from the roots accountable? If we don't do this, we'll continue pointing hand at the federal government. Why the governor is hiding behind collecting money, state assembly is hiding behind, even the National Assembly. You can imagine every problem focus on Mr. President.
Yeah.
How can we grow? And he's the one taking care of the federal executive, the issues. The state assembly is being delegated by somebody by the law. Local government chairman is also hiding. Even councillors who live within the people are also collecting money from the people, taxpayers' money, and is putting in his pocket.
Wow.
It's a major problem.
It's majorly like accountability. That's the most important thing.
Accountability, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Comrade, we'll talk about democracy, and there's no way we can remove that act of corruption in democracy. Because when you look at democracy today, people will talk about democracy is beautiful, democracy is what the people want. But you can agree with me that during the military regime, some of these corruptions are held in a very tight way. But it's like democracy, before you go to the judiciary, get the person arrested, it drags for a long time. So how do you think we can combat corruption in a democratic country? And do you think our judiciary system is actually being democratic as they should be?
I believe the people are the watchdog of democracy, and the people are stronger than institutions. The institutions are made to serve the people. And when you look at institutions not actually serving the people, there's a misconception, there's a problem. The people, as I said earlier, when you talk about accountability, accountability is holding the people you have delegated your mandate to account. In Nigeria, here after elections, we go home and relax. The issue of political issue takes over the day. Before the pre-colonial, I got to understand that there are people that actually put this nation in the right paths. We call them our forefathers. They were not as corrupt as the leaders we have today. You find out that even when the military took over with their decree and authority, I don't want to go in that area because I believe in democracy. But when the people that we expect that is taking the third level should be able to learn from the colonial masters, from the military era, and behave like civil manner people who are not putting khaki or using force, who believe that the people will count, who actually believe that developing their nations, not stealing the wealth in this nation to go other African countries, counts. We got when we find out that some African countries used to come to Nigeria as Big Brother Africa to look for aids. Even the Indians and different people we see here today, the Nigerians, they used to come during the 80s and late 70s to come down to seek for help in Nigeria. You find out that even our facilities, those days you used to see the assemble of cars. They used to assemble cars even in this nation. We have car plants. We have Ajakuta steels. Mention many. But when this politician came in, I don't just know what happened. They got it wrong. They forgot the blueprint that was given to them by our forefathers. They brought their new initiatives. Initiative that today we are in problem and they are also in problem. Because as long as you cannot develop your community, the moment you go down to your community, you'll be faced with kidnappers or robbers. It's a general problem. We must understand that other people that came to us to seek for help is today giving us aid is a major problem. It's a sad one. Democracy is bleeding and the people are helpless. But I believe there should be a reawakeness of the consciousness of the people to understand that institutions are not stronger than the people. The institutions are made to serve the people. And when the people continue to hold their leaders accountable from the roots, That is where the problem starts. There are 4 people hiding behind, and one finger is pointing at us. That's the federal. Why other people are hiding? And where they are hiding is where we have capacity of Nigerians. Majority of Nigerians dwell there. And allocations and taxpayers' monies are going there. Nothing is happening. We need to get it right. Or we continue talking every 15 September on televisions and radios why the problems are there lying fallow for us. It's a wake-up call for both our leaders and everybody to understand that we must do what is right. And what is right is that the people must stand up, participate in governance, start holding leaders in all areas accountable beyond just waiting for election next year.
Wow. Thank you so much, Comrade Benjamin Dennis.
Thank you so much.
Our viewers, we still have Comrade Benjamin Dennis with us this morning, and you've heard what he said. Hold your leaders accountable. I wanted him to say a final note to the people, but I think he has already done that.
Of course, yes.
And we're hoping that come next election, everybody wakes up and understand that democracy lies in myself and yourself. Go out there and do the right thing. Hold the leaders accountable. Thank you so much. Daybreak Africa continues after this short break. Stay with us.
Am I free to go?
It's another episode of Healthy Living. I am Lillian Ambi. Today I will be talking about headache. Headache can be a sign of stress or emotional distress, or it can result from a medical disorder such as migraine or high blood pressure, anxiety or depression. It can lead to other problems. People with chronic migraine headache, for example, may find it hard to attend work or school regularly. Headache can occur in any part of the head, on both sides of the head, or in just one location. We have the primary and the secondary type of headache. Primary headache are stand-alone illness caused directly by the overactivity of or a problem with structure in the head that are pain sensitive. Common primary headaches include migraine, cluster headache, and tension headache. Tension headache, which is brain freeze. Eating something very cold can lead to a brain freeze. Tension headache are the most common form of primary headache. Such headache normally begins slowly and generally graduates into middle of the day. Migraine is the second and most common form of primary headache and can have a significant impact on the life of an individual. According to the World Health Organization, migraine is the 6th highest cause of days lost due to disability worldwide. A migraine can last from a few hours to between 2 and 3 days. Cluster headache usually lasts between 15 minutes and 3 hours, and they occur suddenly once per day, up to 8 times per day for a period of weeks to months. In between clusters, there may be no headache symptoms, and this headache-free period can last months to years. The pain caused by cluster headaches is one-sided headache, often described as sharp or burning, typically located in or around the eye. Secondary headache. Secondary headache are symptoms that happen when another condition stimulates the pain-sensitive nerves to the head. In other words, the headache symptoms can be attributed to another cause. A wide range of different factors can cause secondary headache. These include alcohol-induced hangover, brain tumor, blood clots, bleeding in or around the brain, brain freeze, or ice cream headache, carbon monoxide, poisoning, dehydration, glaucoma, teeth grinding at night, overuse of pain medication known as rebound headache, panic attack, and stroke. Types of secondary headache are rebound headache. Rebound headache or medical overuse headaches stem from an excessive use of medication to treat headache symptoms. They are the most common cause of secondary headache. They usually begin early in the day and persist throughout the day. They may improve with pain medication but worsen when its effects wears off. Thunderclap. These are sudden severe headache that are often described as the worst headache of the life. They reach maximum intensity in a less than 1 minute and last longer than 5 minutes. People who exercise this sudden severe headache should seek medical evaluation immediately. As headache can be a symptom of serious condition, it is important to seek medical advice if it becomes more severe, regular, or persistent. Sometimes headache may result from a deficiency of a particular nutrient or nutrients, especially magnesium and carbon B vitamins. Differences can be due to a poor quality of diet or other medications. Treatment. The most common ways of treating headaches are rest and pain relief medication. Several alternative forms of treatment for headache are available, but it is important to apply a heat ice pack on the head or on the neck to avoid extreme temperature. Avoid stressor where possible and develop healthy coping strategy for unavoidable stress. Eat regular meals because hunger can also cause headache. A hot shower can help, although in one rare condition, hot water exposure can trigger headache. Exercising regularly and getting enough rest and regular sleep contribute to overall health and stress reduction. Avoid watching of too much television and avoid too much eye contact to the screen. Thank you for watching today's episode. I still remain Lillian Ambi. Don't forget, when you have symptoms that persist more than 2 to 3 hours, consult a medical practitioner.
Thank you so much for that update on healthy living by Lillian and B. Okay, we're on the segment of the newspaper and we have Mr. Victor in the studio already with us.
Exactly, bringing you the latest updates in and around Nigeria, in and around Nigeria, and around the world as well.
I have to stop calling you Victor, just Eteba.
And if you prefer, you can say Eteba as well.
Eteba, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Mr. Eteba. So what's making headlines this Monday morning on the dailies?
Well, there's nothing really in particular that is making headlines. So you find that different papers have different headlines. So it means that a lot of things have happened during the weekend and between yesterday and today. A lot of things have happened, which also include the South Africa issue on xenophobia. Recently, we found out that they sent an envoy to Nigeria to discuss. So it seems like the heat got to them, and they are now doing what they should do, because the president was at the funeral of the late former president of Zimbabwe. Let's not Zimbabwe. Yeah, and he was there and he was giving a speech, and then he was being booed. He was being booed and jeered by the crowd. So I think that might be one of the reasons why he felt like, maybe it's our image have really been damaged.
Why do you think it's funny?
It's funny. For the crowd to even boo him is funny enough, but for him to even give a speech, it's funny. It's even more funny, because I mean, you saw how this whole thing started. If a convoy is supposed to be sent into any of the African countries or to any of the African countries, should have been done as early as possible. Not waiting for people to start withdrawing their citizens before you think it is right for you, or waiting to be booed, because obviously, like you said, that probably prompted the whole thing.
Yes, so that I'm saying, probably maybe he had taken the decision before giving the speech, or maybe he took it after the speech. I'm not sure which came first, which event happened first. But let's look at the newspapers and we'll kick off today. We'll lead today's review from the leadership. And the story making a major headline is just what we discussed. South Africa moves to mend fences with Nigeria. Ramaphosa sends special envoys to PNB, other African countries. This story, you'll find it on page 4. And the picture study there is that of the the executive president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, the governor of Ogun State, Abiodun, and the president of Liberia, George Weah, in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso during a security summit. And just beside the picture study there, the $9.6 billion judgment, P&ID contract, a well-organized crime, federal government insists, says fraud, enough ground to upturn verdict. And that story is on page 4. And below the picture story there are a few tidbits there. Kogi governorship, mass defection looms in PDP. Why is that? You find more details of it on page 2. Party kidnapped victims regained freedom in Katsina. Details of that on page 33. And just below the masthead, President Muhammad Buhari greets Etunupe at 67. That story is continued on page 4, and that is all on the front page of the leadership newspaper, but there are more details inside that you can get. That's it.
Okay. South Africa's trying to mend fences with Nigeria.
Yes, and I think that is the way that is the way to go.
That's the only way to go right now.
But Mr. Victor, do you think this is coming late?
It is coming late, and just after the president did this, we also saw some peaceful work in South Africa. Less than Pretoria, for example, where South Africans came out on a peaceful walk, asking foreign nationals, including Nigeria, to forgive them for the xenophobic attacks. Something like that. So it was a kind of a less than a large crowd, a mammoth crowd of South Africans that came out to do that peaceful walk and singing songs and asking Nigerians and other
African countries to
forgive them. Yes.
You know, so we hope really at the end of the day it's the xenophobic attack is actually the South African government looks deeply into it, because it's not about sending envoy, it's not about protesting on the street, it's actually about implementation of the right thing in the country. Because I feel they might send envoys, and then there are some people in the villages still penetrating the arts, you know. So I feel it's about implementation of the actual, stopping the killings, and not just coming out on the streets and protesting or, sending envoy to Nigeria. But at the end of the day, it's still a good move by the government.
It is. Or even though it's coming tad late, like really late, but it is here.
But I had to pick up the pilot and hold it tight because there's so much on the pilot for today. So the major headlines is 30 years after Nigeria leads UN General Assembly, that's on page 8. And then we have a picture story of Company Secretary Alas Jet, Nigeria, John Okopi, Chairman Board of Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission, NCPC, Yomi Kasali, Executive Director, Alas Jet, Nigeria, Recruitment Fitis, and Acting Director, NCPC, Esther Nwage, during the signing of contract agreements with air carriers and ground handlers for the 2019 General Pilgrimage in Abuja at over the weekend. That's a picture story there, backing that up. And then below that, over 60 security operatives die in Benue herdsmen crisis. That's coming from Otom on page 8. And on page 8 also, farmers' headers conflict to end soon as ECOWAS Parliament steps in. Alright, page 8 again, Ekiti varsity crisis, police warn against planned protest. And then on page 5, Nigerian varsities to get steady power. That's coming from the federal government. Also on page 5, respect court verdict on failed electricity contract. Serap tells Buhari. And on page 5 also, 3 killed as cultists clash in Governor Otom Emmanuel's community. Nigeria's external trade increases to 8.6 trillion naira in the quarter 2. That's Q2, that's on page 32. On page 8, above the major headline, Kogi by Gelsa Guba, we've not published names of successful candidates. That's coming from INEC on page 8. Ruga, Imo community uncovers illegal settlement on page 6. And on the sports, Abraham is in my plan for 3 Lions, Southgate on the pilot sports. And that's all we have on the Nigerian pilot for today.
Okay, I will be going straight to the blueprint, and the screaming headlines there says $9.6 billion PNID contract designated to fail. This is by the federal government. We won't allow local foreign collaborators to rip us off. Nigerians should ask PDP government for explanation. This is by a minister. The full details of this is continued on page 6. And the picture story there of 30 kidnapped victims released to Katsina governor by the bandits on Sunday yesterday. The victim released are 15 women, including nursing mothers, and 15 children of them, most of them toddlers, brings to 51 the number of kidnapped victims released so far. And below the picture story there we have Igbo presidency, Southeast needs divine intervention. This is by Mo Halu. The full details of this is continued on page 22. Etsu Nupe's nobility, maturity, vision, exemplary. This is by Buhari. You can get the full details of this on page 20. And on page 5, we are compelling Sterling Tribunal judgments. This is by INEC. And also on page 34, NLNG 610 billion to expand operations. 50 shops destroyed in Jos market fire. A sad one there. The full details is continued on page 31. And also on page 31, we have stakeholders to Kogi government, how to tackle impending floods. And below the masthead there we have xenophobia. On xenophobia, 320 more Nigerians returned from South Africa Tuesday. Ohanese youths absolve Igbo. The full details of this is continued on page 6. Police arrest 62 political thugs in Niger. This is continued on page 19. CBN cautions on non-approved e-payment solutions. The full details of this is continued on page 34. And finally on page 34 we have VAT to add 479.9 billion naira revenue bought. You want to know what the bought is? This is by an expert. Go to page 34. And that's about what we have on the front page of the
your blueprint
this morning. And then 320 more Nigerians to return from South Africa today. Yeah, it's really a good one. Like what Epis company did, were they actually paid?
No. It was less than voluntary, free flight for all those that want to come back.
That's really commendable one from Oyema.
And it's very listen patriotic.
Wow.
Indeed.
Yeah, and talking about democracy, this is part of what we discussed about patriotic Nigerians.
Yeah,
selflessness.
Because I know how much it would have cost the company, you know, the fuel gas and all that, even to land in South Africa, because they're going to pay charges the moment their airplane lands in the South African.
Just imagine they were selling tickets to take people to South Africa and back. You know how much they would have made
from it. But it's really a good one there. Anyway, so quickly to the People's Daily.
Yeah, the People's Daily, what do they have? 9.6 billion judgment. Again, federal government vows to protect nation's interests. Taxed Nigerians to ask PDP questions. Raises fresh posers on contract litigation. Get more details of that on page 5. The picture story there is that of the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, the Minister of Niger Delta and the Minister of State for Niger Delta in a Sandford party organized for the Minister of State for Niger Delta. And below the picture story, Nigeria's UN rep, Mohammed Bande, assumes office as UNGA's chair. Get details of that on page 9. 50 shops raised in Jos Markets fire. Get a story also on page 3. Niger APC primaries, police arrest 62 suspected thugs. That story is contained on page 4. Kanu set to implement Ruga as committee identifies forest for takeoff. And that is all on the front page of the People's Daily newspaper.
And quickly to the Vanguard on xenophobia. Ramaphosa sends envoys to Nigeria, 6 other countries. Aftermath of cheers, bows at Mugabe's burial. Ramaphosa in church blasts penetrators of attacks. Sue South Africa now. Bolaji Akeyemi urges the federal government. The full details of this you can get on page 5. And we have a picture story there of the ECOWAS summit where you have the president and some other dignitaries. Also, there's a picture story there of the Sandford for Kayamo. I think this is organized by NIDC for the Minister of State Niger Delta Affairs in Abuja. And we have Atiku versus Buhari. PDP governors back parties' decision to approach the Supreme Court. The full details of this is continued on page 49, I beg your pardon. And on page 6, man buries Okada man after cutting off his head, private parts and intestines. That's a sad one there. And above the masthead we have Nigeria failed my husband, says wife of murdered Ondo Maths professor. The full details of this is continued on page 7. Why Jonathan refused to sack 3 northern governors over Boko Haram. This is by Adoke. The full details of this is continued on page 8. Catholic bishops flag Buhari over ministerial appointments. This also is continued on page 11. And that's about what we have on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. And then, Victor, when you read the People's Daily, I saw something about 50 shops in Jos raised by fire. It seems that our fire service, are they actually working?
Not every state has an effective fire service. So when you are looking at states that even have an effective fire service, I think outside Abuja, you have about 3 states or 3 or 4 states that have functioning fire service, and I don't think Plateau is one of those states that have a functioning fire service.
Oh, it's really a sad one, because I'm sure some of these shop owners don't have insurance, neither do they have anything to.
Quite sad.
Yeah, so when you lost your properties in the fire, it means there's no way to regain them.
On this matter of the farmers and herders clash going on actively in Benue State at the moment, it's quite sad, but the ECOWAS coming out to say that we have a positive stop to it soon. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, that crisis has been kind of perennial, occurring year in, year out. And if the ECOWAS are coming out to say very soon they are going to have a permanent solution for it, then it's fantastic. I think that is what we all want to see at the moment.
But why ECOWAS coming into this picture?
Well,
I mean,
but at the same time, when you look at it,
I think it's a grassroots issue.
But at the same time, when you look at it, the Nigerian security forces will let you know that most of the people carrying these attacks are not Nigerians. They are coming from other distant and neighboring countries, and those are part. So if South Africa, if ECOWAS is saying they're going to join hands together to solve this problem, then I don't think it's any problem.
Talk about the
since they're not
the borders.
Yes. And I'm looking at the issue of the VAT, that the new VAT regime is going to contribute about
an increase.
Yes, 479.9 billion naira. I think that is a good one for the government, but not a good one for the people.
That's how many percent increase from?
It just it was 5%, and then it was close to 7.2. So that's just about that is less than 50% increase.
And when we still have some of the states struggling with the minimum wage increase, you're increasing taxes.
Yeah, that is I don't know the rationale, the thinking behind this idea, but yes, but this is the same thing. I don't think in Nigeria, maybe when issues happen, we don't look at it. Maybe we just, okay, if an issue happens, if for example an issue happens in Lagos, it's like everybody leaves that issue, forgets that issue, and say it's a Lagos issue, let Lagos people handle it. So because this kind of case came up about 2 years ago in Lagos increased land use charge, so they could come and then buy your property, and then they will give you a bill of 500,000, 1 million, 2 million that you have to pay as land use charge every year. And then you're wondering, where are you going to get money to pay this? But it was actually arbitrarily increased in the whole land use charge. And people were discussing that if generating revenue is a problem, the thing the government needs to do is not to increase the taxes on those people who are already paying. What you need is to spread the tax net, let it accommodate more people. Now, the government have it on record that they have been able to accommodate about 16 million people or 20 million Nigerians are already paying tax right now. So it was an increase of about 3 million people to the former tax market that we had. So we have about 200 and something. Okay, we have about 198 million Nigerians, and if you have a little percentage as 20 million or less paying tax, the original thing to do if you want to make more money is to what? Spread your tax net. Because if you spread your tax net to cover at least 50 to 100 million Nigerians, you are going to make more money from that tax than when you increase tax by 7.2 and there's still 60 million people paying tax. Yes.
But even if you want to increase your net, you should talk about employment. How many people are employed? How many people are able to even pay tax?
Because even reactions from Nigerians, people are saying that instead of increasing this tax, why not reduce our lawmakers' salaries and some of those allowances? I mean, it could probably help us go around to some extent. I don't know.
I think asking for the lawmakers to cut down their salaries, that is a very tall order. It's something that we might not get to see. If this kind of based on democracy continues, we might not get to see it in this our own generation. Perhaps, I don't know.
We might. Let's be hopeful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for joining us.
Yep.
And right now we're going straight to agribusiness. Yes, everybody, before now people thought agric is just for farmers. Agric is not something to make money. A couple of us who actually grew up farming believe that farming is just when you make your own food, you just eat it and sustains the family. But right now, the government is coming out to say that agric is a business itself. People are beginning to identify agric as a full business. And on this report in Daybreak Africa, we'll be talking about packaged fruits and vegetables in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Fruits and vegetables are of great nutritional value to the human and animal body systems.
There are important sources of vitamins and minerals in the dietary composition of food and plays a significant role in the health and well-being of individuals and livestock. Vegetable productions form a substantial percentage of the major food crops cultivated in the tropics and is therefore a major source of livelihood for a sizable section of the population. Consequently, there has been increased trade and commercial activities around the commodity. In Nigeria, enormous quantities of fruits and vegetables are produced annually, but it is the amount of produce available to the consumers that is more important than the level of production. Suffice to say that between production, harvesting and consumption, heavy losses are encountered in these crops.
The current statistics shows that we lose within fruits and vegetables between the range of 50 to 70% of some of those products. And nobody makes anything and loses 50% of what he makes. He's going to be very happy about that. So to say the least, it's pretty bad.
The exact figures for post-harvest loss estimates for fruits and vegetables are difficult to substantiate, but it's noted that losses as high as 50% are common in fruits and vegetables between rural production and town consumption in the tropics. Notably, these losses occur during transportation, storage, and marketing. Fruits and vegetables in their fresh forms contains high percentage of water and thereby carries out physiological functions of respiration with their absorption and release of gases to the environment. These activities leads to their deterioration under high temperature and humidity. How then do the handlers and dealers deal with the challenges of preserving and storage of their fruits and vegetable consignments?
Wanda ba a sayar yau ba za a wanke shi, gobe in ba a sayar da shi ba sai a zubar da shi in rana ta sai a zuba sa. To ya danganta da irin cinikin da kai a ranar. In ka yi ciniki sosai to shi kenan za ka iya bai da kuɗinka da ɗan samu wani abu. Ko ba kai ciniki ba daman gwari ce ta gaji haka.
You have to identify what causes waste at each of the level of the food supply chain. So if you identify the reasons for the waste at each of those levels, then you'll be able to now devise the way to handling it. So the emphasis on production in this area is what are the things that causes loss at the production level, and some of those things are just very simple. We have not localized technologies to arrest our process of harvesting.
It is on record that Nigeria spends huge amounts of money on importation of food items from foreign countries, while countless losses are recorded in our local fruits and vegetable markets due to a shortage of cottage industries in the rural and urban areas to process the excess food vegetables into easily accessible and storable products.
Now, there are no business opportunities that are there. One of them is the fact that this over 50% loss that we are encountering, these things can be turned into another product which can last for a long time. As every year we lose about 50% to 70% of something like tomatoes. And now, do you know that we have up to the nation spends up to 11 billion naira per annum to import tomato paste? So you can see the agro business is much. Cottage industries, where this tomato paste can be produced, is a very big business. Another agro business that is very important in food and beverage industries, the preservation aspect of it. Because we are looking at two basic things. Either you convert it to another useful product, or you preserve it at least for a minimum of 6 to 12 months so that another harvest season can come.
In the quest for youth empowerment, government and stakeholders in the private sector should intensify efforts at supporting existing cottage industries involved in the business of fruits and vegetable processing, and also set up new industries, especially in the rural localities. This will improve the agribusiness drive, create rural employment, ensure food security, and an increase in the gross domestic product of the country.
Welcome back from that report on agribusiness. I saw the juice and it was so juicy and I was like, oh my god, oh my god. Already seated with us here we have Uchechi Lemowa.
Lemowa?
Yeah, Lemowa.
Yeah. That's my signature. You know.
Alright, that's a good one. So Uchechi will be taking us through the fashion book, and today she's talking about dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Dreadlocks, and like Lucy said, you're wearing one already.
Definitely.
So tell us, what is this thing about dreadlocks? What's the history like? What's the whole invention or introduction of dreadlocks? How did it all start?
Okay, talking about dreadlocks, the first depiction of dreadlocks is traced back to 3600 BC. So you know what that means. That's a very long time. Yes, it means that dreadlocks has been around for a very long time, and the first archaeological evidence of these dreadlocks is from Egypt. You know, and according to research, mummies were discovered sporting dreadlocks. And you know, today there are lots of myths about these dreadlocks. A lot of people, they have something to say about dreadlocks. So many people have negative things to say about dreadlocks. You know, when you are seen wearing dreadlocks, people tend to see you as a bad person. You know, they criticize you definitely. And there are people who would have you hand them to death than get them caught their dreadlocks. They are so crazy about dreadlocks, and this group is made up of what you just said, the Rastafarians. You know, so far so good. Dreadlocks has been criticized as one of the examples of cultural appropriation, and then but people still love it. Despite that, people still love dreadlocks, you know. Despite what people say about dreadlocks, it's still, today it is a worldwide fashion trend, you know, and there are so many benefits about these dreadlocks, you know. A lot of people wear it, not because they love it, they wear it because it's convenient for them. Someone like me, I don't really love dreadlocks, but I wear dreadlocks because it's very, very convenient for me.
Coming down to the history of Nigeria on dreadlocks, I mean, usually we know that when you see people that used to wear dreadlocks are those Yoruba twins. I don't know if I'm right. Then, you know, and then they say you're not supposed to cut the child's hair. If you cut the child, culture and tradition, is it culture or tradition? I don't know. But if you cut the child's hair, you have to kill a goat or a cow or something.
Like if the child comes out with, do they, I understand what you say.
Yeah.
But actually, do they have children who come out with dreadlocks naturally?
Oh,
because I feel it's just the parents not combing the children's hair properly.
Yeah, when you say that.
I've truly seen people that came with dreadlocks, seriously.
How does it work? They come out from the belly and their heads are twisted.
Definitely, especially.
I think I've seen some that when they comb the hair, it still twists back. You comb it, it still twists back. Even when you cut it, it still comes out twisted. So those are the ones that are confirmed to be.
And some people will tell you that some of them are destined to be pastors, to be seers, prophets.
Yeah, this when you talk about the churches like in Cherubim and Seraphim, they truly believe in the biblical background of dreadlocks. And in the Bible, you talk about this guy Samson, you know, his hair, whatever. And then if you a woman caught it and the power was whatever, and then you know these Cherubim and Seraphim, they took it so serious. I mean, dreadlocks, like you don't just cut the hair. They feel that the child will die if you cut
if you do
hair.
cut the hair. But then, you know, these dreadlocks, when I look at it, when I see it, I feel some people don't maintain theirs very well. And I feel if you don't maintain your dreadlocks very well, you look a bit tacky. Are there ways to maintain these dreadlocks that our viewers should actually know about? What do they have to do to keep their hair? Because I feel as much as you're wearing dreadlocks, you should make it, you know, like you cleanly packed yours. But you see some people, they leave it, you know.
Yeah. Yes, those are the people who don't truly care about themselves, the way they look and all that. So I feel if you love dreadlocks, you know, it's a very long-lasting hair. When you make dreadlocks, you can carry it as long as you wish. And then
so that means it's economical?
Definitely. Some people do it because of that
How
reason.
long?
You can carry dreadlocks for like 6 months.
That is if you put the artificial ones. There are ones who actually have their real hair twisted.
You have to be going to a salon to wash it, to trim it, and there are special creams for it. You know, when you go out there, you find them. You know, to keep it.
Uchechi, the fashion auntie. Thank you so much for this dreadlocks tips. And I hope our viewers at home, everyone who has dreadlocks is looking how neatly Uchechi packs.
I would like to see Lucy on dreadlocks.
Definitely.
So somebody should please beg us on the comment section, and then let's go to power.
Even you,
no, Lucy, we need to see you on dread because she's the
dreadlocks is
co-fashion book person. So we need to see somebody beg us on the comment section, please. We need to see Lucy on dreadlocks.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Vote to power.
I'm sure with Uchechi by my side, I should be able to have a beautiful dreadlocks come out. Thank you so much, Uchechi, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And for our viewers at home, sit put. We are going straight to entertainment. Priscilla, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, Ajay
Shola will be joining us on the studio just after this break. Go nowhere. Just like I said, that Priscilla will be joining us on the studio for the entertainment gist. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Priscilla.
you very much. Good morning.
It's like you and Uchechi are really prepared for us this morning.
We always
fly.
As much as I am, I'm really happy that you guys are saying this whole thing. Like, we decided today we're going to take it from you guys. Like, you guys don't even know what hit you. Like,
I see. I'm telling you,
by tomorrow it's be on another level.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So we're going to have a meeting after to actually give it back to them.
All right. So like, Alright, let's move right into our entertainment news stories. So our very first story is about Liz Anjorin and Toyin Abraham. On social media, they have been going back and forth. At first, Liz Anjorin said that Toyin Abraham had troll accounts she was using to troll other actresses, and then Toyin Abraham came out to say that she's going to sue her for libel. Apparently, Toyin Abraham's fans, they are not letting down. What they do is, if they just feel like somebody's trying to, maybe throw some kind of shade at Toyin, they will hit the person. And then I think other actresses are now feeling like, okay, she's the one doing it, but no. Her fans usually take it into their hands, like they take her
Toyin has this amazing personality,
yeah,
this different thing
her,
about her
people
that's
love
so
her.
lovable and
yeah.
attractive.
And then right now, she and this her new boo and her baby,
yeah.
like we're all gushing.
Life is so good
she
right
has
now.
a new boo.
Oh, she's engaged.
Okay.
But
that's why we have you to tell us what's happening.
But you know about the baby, right?
Okay.
Jesus
okay.
Christ. I come
Lucy
here
has been
to
off
talk
the
to
net.
you and you just I feel very bad. I'm not been doing my job well.
I remember now.
Okay, she actually forgot.
She just had a baby.
Well, I'll just
feel good.
Move on to the next story. Alright, so on social media over the weekend, a lot of celebrities were answering, people on people on social media get where they just feel like they can say anything to celebrities. One of such celebrities is Davido, and we also had Tiwa Savage. Apparently, a fan felt like Davido should be writing his songs after he said that Adekunle Gold co-wrote a song on his album, and then the fan said he should be writing songs by himself. But Davido was actually very subtle and very nice with his reply, and everybody, applauded the fact that he replied in that way. And then Tiwa Savage as well, a fan came out to say that who is richer between Tiwa Savage and Wizkid, and Tiwa Savage was like, well, that she has been calling Wizkid to borrow money and he has not been picking her calls. It was really funny.
Some people just want to sit down somewhere and cause wahala.
Yeah, like
just cause
I like
trouble.
this subtle replies.
Yeah.
This shows a lot of maturity, Some people try to throw shade. People just wake up one morning and say something about a celebrity.
If it's between Davido and Wizkid, I see some kind of
Wizkid is worth over 4 billion naira.
Yo.
Yeah, so he's a rich dude. Tiwa Savage is worth close to 2 billion naira.
Like, why can't Wizkid settle down and get married?
Well, Davido is obviously starting.
Some of us are really so single.
Okay.
Okay.
He's a next
story. I'm done saying what I want to say. Well, I just wanted some people to know,
that some are single.
Some of us are really so single.
Duly noted. Okay.
Thank you.
Alright, so moving on. So yes, Rihanna has been in the news. A lot of people are thinking she's probably pregnant. She came out for the Diamond Ball looking very robust, and then she gave a little hint about being pregnant. So what she said is, she came from a black woman, her mother came from a blac woman, she will give birth to a black woman. So you know how social media is now.
Is it Don Jazzy that's responsible?
Don
Jazzy is so sad right now. That's so... Oh my God, Don Jazzy has been on...
certain, nobody has...
We're not certain.
It should be Don Jazzy, because, we're just going to come and visit her with Nigerian Juju. Don Jazzy has really been on her case for years.
They are saying this one.
No, but really, I really want it to be Don Jazzy.
We want Riri to come back to us.
We want her to come back home. Charles said all of them are Nigerians, Beyonce and Rihanna. So come back home.
We want to bring them home.
Well, let's not be confirmed that she's pregnant.
She and Ibo.
For you, it's not like we're just saying, she looks,
But if she is pregnant, it should be for Don Jazzy.
It's a beautiful thing, really.
I feel Americaphobia.
I feel it's really nice if she's pregnant, because looking at people like Cardi B, Beyonce, who are in the industry and have had their babies and are still making it. I feel if Rihanna does it, it's not something anybody
should be having some single mama shades thrown all around.
Yeah, but then people will always throw shade, whether you're single, you're married,
that's the thing. And of course, someone like Riri, even if she decides to be a single mama, oh my gosh, she can take care of her generations to come. So
and then I would love to see a child like that, somebody that looks like Rihanna, a baby that looks like Rihanna.
I know.
Like, so cute. Well, we're definitely looking forward to hearing that this particular news is actually true. Okay, so yes, moving on to our next story. So now to all things Baby Naija. Kathy was evicted from Big Brother Naija house.
Oh my God.
And that is really, really sad. A lot of people are sad about it. A lot of people are like, how come? Like, Kathy is supposed to be one of the big contenders and she got evicted. And another person making the news, Baby Naija, is Mercy. Well, apparently Mercy said that she dated Emmanuel Emenike, former Super Eagles player, and he dumped her for his now wife.
like his beautiful beauty queen.
This is like Gangan.
Yes, you know. And she said he dumped her because she did not have a social status, and that she decided that she's going to be a celebrity. You know, she's going to make it and all of that.
I've actually seen Mercy as a double daring person.
Yeah, very daring.
She has always been not just daring. She has been double daring, because being in that house and then doing all of those, you know, regardless of what anybody's thinking about you outside, it's I don't know. That's I don't want to use the word an ambitious person, but that's someone that's optimistic about what she wants.
What she wants.
True.
Anyway, I'm talking about Kathy. She's the police officer, right?
Yes, I was like confused.
Maybe it's a beautiful thing. Now she can actually be with her boyfriend.
That's what everybody's saying. She can be with her boyfriend.
She can be with her boyfriend. And then move.
But they were loving each other, and they really said a lot of nice things about themselves. We're hoping that they hook up as soon as they
end
come
up like
out.
Bam Bam and Teddy.
You know, that's a beautiful love story, right? I'm actually single.
It is your single thing.
Yes, I'm done here. Like,
no, you can't be done.
I'm done here.
You need to find someone that is single for Sapphire, because she has been talking about this her status this Monday morning. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this Daybreak Africa.
Thank you.
I'm
very
sure
much.
it's one of Sapphire's favorites on the show.
Even the
anyway, because I think she got to tell you about her status.
She woke up single.
No, but I was really joking. Before somebody will now say I've broken up with you, you know. It's all for the net, please.
Anyway, thank you so much, Priscilla, for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
And for our viewers at home, we're happy that you joined us this morning on Daybreak Africa. Do not forget, you can always leave your comments and follow us on all our social media handles. And like Sapphire said, I'm going to be wearing dreadlocks soon.
Yeah! Looking forward to that.
Yes, and like we always say, leave your comments, tell us if it's your birthday, because we want to celebrate you on Daybreak Africa. You can send your picture and tell us the day of your birthday. And trust me, we'll be celebrating you on the show. And for your comments, we really, really want to hear from you. Everything we discussed, you want to say something, you want to tell us to talk about something, yes, you're welcome to do that on the comment section. We'll be back same time tomorrow with all the amazing programs. I am Lucy Ora.
And I am Sapphire. It's sad to say goodbye, but then we have to go to prepare for tomorrow, because we're going to be bringing you bumper. I don't know if Priscilla will be here, but if she's not here, I'll take off the entertainment. Just don't worry. So just stay tuned for us tomorrow. We still have a lot of trending programs for you on the TVN platform, so stay tuned.